Hello, I am Dr. A. Arunashri Lakshmi, Associate Professor, National Law University, Odisha, Cuttack. The module I am going to deal with now is titled as The Indian Conception of Law, Rita and Dharma. So, unlike the Western legal thought, the Indian conception of law has its base and roots from the Vedas, where it is termed as Rita. Now, what is the significance of this Rita and Dharma in understanding the concept of law? So, the Indian concept of Rita and Dharma has the basic sources of all laws, and this can be understood at three stages. The Indians believe, and there is a strong authenticity, that the law has arisen or has originated from Vedas, and this concept can be visualized and identified at three stages. Now, the three stages are: one, the early Vedic period, which is correlated to Rita; the middle Vedic period, which is correlated to Satya; and the post-Vedic period, which is correlated to Dharma. Now, what is the interrelationship between this Rita and Dharma, and what is its significance is one aspect which one needs to understand. So, the word Rita is derived from the root re, meaning to move. So, it can be understood as that which moves and changes, or the natural order. Now, Rita is a Vedic legal concept which can be described as the law of nature, and how this concept has evolved is the Vedic sages identified the forces of the nature and began to perceive it and considered Varuna as the chief guardian of the Rita. So, as in the nature there is a sun, there is moon, there is daylight, there is darkness. So, for every respective cosmos or order, there are gods that have been posited with certain duties, and Varuna is considered as the chief guardian of Rita. Now, as we go further, there are three aspects of Rita where it is understood as an unending symphony of the cosmic order. It furnishes that law is imperative and operated independently. And Rita, from the other dimension, it focuses on the Vedic sacrifices, whichever to be observed meticulously. And thirdly, Rita in the life of the individual become a source to motivate him to act in conformity with the universal principles of nature. Now, as we understand too the concept of Rita, Rita is the controlling and the sustaining power in nature under the Indian conception. It ordains the law of the physical world, regulates the law of birth, growth and decay in nature, and Rita controls, balances all natural forces in the environment. So, it is the unending symphony, as has been early stated, of the cosmic order which existed before Dharma and Satya. Therefore, Rita emphasizes the law must be certain and immutable, and it is understood as that which is ethical in nature. The concept of Rita, which owes its origin to the Vedas, it stands for the eternal law, wherein imperativeness is inherent, which impose obligatory conduct. As we know the principles of harmony, equality, liberty, justice, all these concepts owe their origin to the conception of Rita. Now, we need to understand what is the correlation between Rita and its relevance to justice. Here we need to focus upon that law aims at the social order, and social order is maintained through the legal order, which is possible only through the evolution order. And here Rita plays the significant part of it, where it contributes to the social order. And the concept of Rita is the highest, and in the spiritual domain and thought, the system of obligatory rules which cannot be altered is the perception with regard to Rita. And the next concept we go to is the concept of Dharma. Then what is the relation between Rita and Dharma? So, the Indian conception is Dharma in the simple understanding means righteous conduct, and this Dharma word is derived from the root dhri, which is meaning to hold. In Sanskrit it says dharayatiti dharmaha, means it can be understood as that which holds, upholds, sustains, retains, conserves, preserves, promotes human good, human happiness, human dignity, and develops relation between law and morality and law and nature. Now, having understood as to what is the concept of Dharma, as we have already seen, dharayatiti dharmaha, which means that which upholds. Then once we may get a doubt as to is there any difference between dharma and religion, or dharma is superior to religion, or dharma is in contradiction to law and religion. Now, one significant feature under the Indian conception of law one needs to bear in mind is that dharma aspires a human good, human happiness, human flourishing of the mankind, which means it is universal in nature, beyond caste, beyond religion, beyond sex, and beyond everything. Therefore, dharma is not confined to any one particular country. As it has been aptly stated, the significance of dharma is aptly stated thus that dharma unites humanity, religion divides humanity. So, dharma is preventive in nature rather than punitive, and the necessity of law comes into picture only when a wrong is committed. Now, as we have seen that dharma unites humanity, religion divides humanity. Therefore, dharma is universal in nature and it is beyond religion. When we compare this, the word dharma in the context of law, we need to understand that the code of conduct which dharma lays down is preventive in nature rather than punitive, which the law imposes upon. A clear comparison we can make is with regard to how law comes into play after the wrong is committed, but whereas in dharma, through the conduct, through the behavior, wrong is prevented. And hence here we need to note a point that dharma is beyond religion and preventive in nature. Now, to understand more precisely as to what is dharma, we have to acknowledge to the Manu, who has given the Dharma Shastra, dealing with certain fundamental rules of Dharma. Manu Smriti, which is considered as the code of Manu, after the Vedas, which gains prominence, deals with the different aspects of the individual life of a human being, and at every stage it harmonizes the individual through the behavior, brings social order in the society, and lays down rules to the state. And here we need to understand that there are 5 fundamental rules of Dharma that are given by Manu, where it says, Ahimsa satyamasteyam sauchamindriya nigraha etam samasikam dharma chaturvarnye braveen manuhu. Now, he has given 5 fundamental rules of Dharma. Then what is the first one? It talks about ahimsa, that is not indulging in violence against anyone. Satyam, speaking the truth. And the third is not acquiring wealth through any kind of illegal or immoral methods. 4, Saucham, where it talks about the cleanliness of thought, word and deed. And 5, Indriya Nigraha, which talks about the control of the senses. So, these 5 fundamental principles followed by people will be able to avoid civil and criminal injury to others. In this context, we also need to go back to the Taittiriya Upanishad, where it extols Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara, that is, speak the truth, conduct yourself according to law. So, what is the meaning of Dharma? We can deduce into one simple equation that truth, when translated into action, is Dharma. As we have seen that these fundamental rules of Dharma keep the individual with righteous conduct and order the society and also govern the state. Therefore, Dharma, the concept, can be understood in the premise what Rita is to the cosmic territory, Dharma is to the individual, Dharma to the social order, Dharma to the state. So, we can say that this is a treasure house. Dharma is the treasure house of values, ethics, morals, law, action, duties and obligations. So, in one word we can understand Dharma is laying down a complete code of conduct free from coercion, which is going to establish order in the society, leading to the legal order in the society through the Rita. The reason is Rita has a universal concept where it is going to balance the ecological system as well as the nature. Then we come to the next word frequently used as Satya. Normally, Rita, Satya, Dharma, these 3 words are synonymously used, but however, they have their own distinct role to play in the ordering of the society as well as the universe. So, in the beginning itself, we have seen the Vedic period is classified into 3 categories. One is the early Vedic period, the second is the middle Vedic period, which is correlated to the concept of Satya. The third is the post-Vedic period, which is correlated to Dharma. So, once to know the meaning of this, what is truth, what is order, what is the correlation between Satya and Rita, it so happened after the Mahabharata war at Kurukshetra, Uddhava asked Lord Krishna as to what is the difference between Satya and Rita, and Lord Krishna replied stating that Satya is a Samadarshanam, that is, truth is to see the identity of difference. Rita is the description of truth understood as the ultimate truth in a higher sense. So, Satya is a principle of the integration in the cosmic order, and it is the absolute truth, and Rita is the operating rule, otherwise termed as the relative truth. In other words, Satya is the truth of being, Rita is the truth of becoming. So, how do we correlate these three aspects, Rita, Dharma and Satya? Rita can be related to the cosmic order independent of the human world. Where there is a rhythm in the cosmic order, without any intervention, the nature is being carried out. Dharma is the Rita applied to the human field of thought and action. Satya is truth as applied to the human field of thought and the world. So, it can be understood otherwise, like where man's expression of the free will reflects Satya and Dharma, it can be said to be in line with Rita. So, basing on this philosophy, the Indian or the Hindu legal thinkers, they focus more upon leading a life which is dharmic in nature. The test of dharma is to abide by the good conscience. Anything in violation of good conscience is considered as adharma. As we go through the Manu Dharma Shastra, that is the code of Manu, where he speaks about the development of law, the concept of law, the sanction of law, administration of justice, and also the Raj Dharma, Rajya Shasana, and also the Rajya Dharma, where the state is under an obligation, the constitution is considered as the supreme, and the punishment or the sanction is based upon the conscience, good conscience of the person. So, hence prior to the law interfering into the field in a coercive manner, we find that dharma imposes duty on a person to abide by a particular code of conduct in his individual life. And hence, the Indian conception of law is such, whatever the Rita we talk about, that is the cosmic identity, the nature or the universal principle in the form of the cosmic order, is again brought into the grassroots level of the individual leading the life through his dharma, that is his code of conduct in the society. And it is believed by Indians, by following this code of conduct, the social order can be established, which will be in tune with maintaining the peace and order in the society. Normally, when we talk about law, law is understood as something dealing with rules and regulations, maintaining of peace and order, certainty, and other aspects we talk about. But however, when a person is violating these laws, he is visited by the penal sanctions. So, even before law takes an individual into his field, the Indian conception of law says that man is bound by his dharma, and violation of a dharma is again going to be visited with certain sanctions which a person has to face. As we have seen, the significance of Rita Dharma in the Indian way of life and its relation to law. Here we need to observe what is the correlation between dharma and law, how dharma is superior. At this juncture, we need to understand that dharma and law both are of utter relevance and immense significance to the human beings and the society. And the common characteristics of both is to enable to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong, and the ultimate aim of law is to establish peace and order in the society. However, the same goal we find rather beyond is what dharma also seeks to achieve. Therefore, as it has been aptly stated by M. Ramjoyce, which is appreciated by Justice R.C. Lahoti, where he says that Ramjoyce has beautifully given the aspects of dharma in a simple terminology in the relevant context for us to understand the importance and significance of dharma at common parlance. Now, he says, though the word dharma has such a wide meaning as to cover rules concerning all spheres of life like spiritual, moral, personal, also civil, criminal and constitutional law, it gives the precise meaning depending upon the context in which it is used. So, for instance, when the word dharma is used to indicate the giving of one's wealth for a public purpose, it means charity. When it is referred to giving of dharma to a beggar, it means giving of alms. When it is said that it is in a given case dharma is in favor of the plaintiff, it means law or justice in his favor. When it is said that it is the dharma of the sons to look after their aged parents, it means duty. So, when it is said that this is the dharma of a debtor to repay the debt to the creditor, it means legal as well as pious obligation. Similarly, when the word dharma is used in the context of the civil rights, that is the civil law, it means that it is enforceable by the state. So, in the case of the criminal offense, that is in the criminal law, it means it is breach of duty which is punishable by the state, and when dharma is used in the context of duties and powers of the king, it means constitutional law, that is Raja Dharma. Likewise, when it is said that Dharma Rajya is necessary for the peace and prosperity of the people and for establishing the egalitarian society, the word dharma in the context of the word Rajya only means law, and Dharma Rajya means rule of law and not rule of religion or a theocratic state. So, dharma in the context of legal and constitutional history, it only means Vyavahara Dharma and Raja Dharma evolved by the society through the ages, which is binding both on the king and the ruler and the people that is the ruled. So, Raja Dharma conferred power on the king to enforce an obedience to Vyavahara Dharma through the might of the state. So, this briefly can be understood as the concept of a dharma that is envisaged in the Indian conception. Therefore, the study of the concept of dharma, what we may otherwise term it as the corpus juris of natural law in the Indian perspective, can be understood with the following manifestations like dharma and the concept of vidhi, that is the law, and danda, the punishment. Dharma and the concept of person, man and human being. Dharma and the concept of state, sovereignty, Rajadharma, Rajya Dharma, Rajashashana, good sustainable governance and management. Dharma and the concept of the human dignity. Dharma and the concept of information and knowledge. A roadmap for good sustainable governance, management accountability and transparency. Dharma and the concept of democracy, polity and synergetic comity. Dharma and the concept of justice, social, political, economic, distributive and access to justice. Dharma and the concept of logic and reasoning, practicality and heuristic. Now, if we analyze these headings as to where dharma can play a part of it, we find that it is the all-round development of the state, the society, the individual that is going to constitute the corpus juris of natural law, varying into different dimensions, right from the law to punishment, from person to the human being, from Rajadharma to Rajya-dharma, which talks about also the good governance, the accountability and sustainable development, and the democracy, polity and other aspects, the conspectus of justice also we find. As we analyze it, the concept of Rita talks about the distributive justice, where it distributes justice equally to everyone. Dharma confers on the person a code of conduct, a code of righteous conduct which should be observed by an individual, which is going to lead to the social order. In the ultimate analysis, we find that through dharma, we are going to maintain peace and order in the society. And this being the approach of the Indians as to the conception of law, basically they bank upon the concept of dharma, which is individual in nature, followed by everybody. That is why it is said, dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. So, as we understand these three concepts, Rita, Dharma particularly, and also Satya in the part of it, we come to an understanding that the Indian conception of law is different from the Western legal thought, though we find certain similarities where they also bank upon the natural law movement, where they correlate law to the principles of nature. Still, the concept of Rita has a divine sanctity. The code of conduct has a divine sanctity of dharma, and being true to himself, that is that speaking truth, doing no harm to others, not amassing wealth in any other fashion by any kind of illegal means. These basic principles, if they are followed, it is understood that the social order is going to be balanced in the given society. And this particular important point we have to bear in mind when we understand the concept of Rita, Dharma and Satya, as they have originated from the Vedas, the four Vedas which speak about the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda and the Atharvana Veda. Subsequently, which is given through the Dharma Shastras. From the Dharma Shastras, the code of conduct of the individual is laid down, and the harmony in the world, the harmony in the society and the harmonious behavior of the individual, these three are going to lead to maintaining balance and peace and order in the society. This briefly is the Indian conception of law regarding Rita Dharma jurisprudentially. Thank you.